0% of you are subscribed. Fix that.
I grew up well below the poverty line, and my mother didn't ask for handouts, and we fucking found a way.
Which means which means that you have childhood friends who are probably still poor. Like, just because you made it out doesn't mean everybody can. The system relies on people being poor.
Actually, let's see. Outside of one friend from the hood, which I used to live in, outside of him, he died. Everybody else made it out, man.
I mean, you can say, like, you can anecdote Andy it all you want, but, like, we have data on systemic poverty. It's a real thing. Generational poverty is, like, tens of millions of people in the country. It's not like everyone can just willpower their way out of it.
Well, no, it's just pull themselves up by the bootstraps, my man.
You unironically believe that? That might be the stupidest thing you've... I feel like you know that meme, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, was initially coined because it's impossible, right? You can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps. They're below you.
Oh man, this is fun. Dude, like that's where you wanted to go with it? Like, I gave you that loaded ass fucking statement and you're just like, well, that doesn't even make like logical sense.
Well, the term was coined because it was making fun of people with your mindset.
Well, see, the funniest thing is, like, even though, like, even if it's like considered to be quote unquote impossible, the issue is like many people have pulled themselves out of fucking poverty. The issue is, I believe, most people don't want to do the things that are required to get out of fucking poverty. You want to know, like, you want to know some of my more, let's say, unenlightened brethren who I'm related to. You know what they fucking did with their COVID relief? They bought like fucking like scratch off tickets and try to win the lottery so they can get more money. All right.
Yeah, so like when you fucking tell me shit people do, so we should do something about that.
Yeah, it's shit what poor people do, dude. Fuck them.
No, rich people make stupid financial decisions all the fucking time. They just don't get punished for it.
They fucking gamble, sure, but like
rich people make way worse financial decisions than poor people. Trust me, as a person who's now rich, I make way stupider decisions with my money. It just doesn't matter because I have more. Poor people make one or two stupid decisions, usually as a product of their poor education for a number of reasons, and they're fucked. They're like,
they just don't need to make bad decisions.
Well, call it a day. Well, I mean, everyone makes bad decisions. It just seems to only affect the poor people.
Listen, dude. Well, I mean, hey, listen, like the
some America last thinking right here. I'm a patriot. I'm just trying to help my Americans.
Complete lack of like care for education or like nutrition or fucking like smart financial thinking is in my opinion individual to each family, right? Like my mother had all those things even though we were poor, so I don't have any issue with saying that other people should be thinking the same way, and if they don't, then that's on them, not on me.
Why do you think it's overwhelmingly, proportionally speaking, black people who suffer so much poverty in this country? I have an answer. I'm just wondering what yours might be.
I believe your answer is going to be what institutionalized racism, right?
Oh, I'm waiting on your answer, and then I'll come in.
Oh well, actually, I believe that modern Black American culture is toxic and pervasive, and it actually encourages people to be like like rappers, ball players, basically anything that is considered outside of the normal, like being a square and working like a regular job. Things of that nature. But I remember I grew up in that. Say again?
Why is their culture so much worse?
I don't know. That's something that I ask all the time within my own community and my own people within it. But like, I don't think it's a fucking government like fucking conspiracy theory to destroy black people.
Conspiracy theory? No, it's just there's really only two possible answers. It's either because of their environment or it's because of their brains. Do you like?
I know I'm not some bell curve guy or whatever. And it could be their environment, but like the environment is like if the environment is mostly fucking black people, doesn't that mean like it's black people like harming other black people?
Well, then why do black people have worse environments than white people?
Why do black people have worse environments than black people? I don't know. Fuck, you tell me, buddy. What do you think it is?
Well, you buried the lead a little bit. Because of historical racism, yeah. You got slavery and you got Jim Crow and you got all that bullshit and it all adds up, and you got racism today, not as much as before, but still, and it all adds together. It makes it harder for black people to get that lead, you know? The way wealth and social power compounds means that once you set a group of people back, it's hard for them to come back. Most of the like big success stories in America are kind of myths. Most of the portions of white America that were poor a century ago are still poor today. Asian immigrants didn't get wealthy. It was just wealthy Chinese immigrants who came in not to build the railroads, but to send their wealthy fucking children to UCLA. That pushed up the average. Like most of the big success story stuff that we push here in America, like the model minority myth, it wasn't like minority groups just suddenly getting better and smarter. It was a change in the environmental conditions. So if black people are in a worse off spot, it must be because the environment's worse off. We got to fix that.
Okay, and do you think it has nothing to do with the own inset culture of black people in inner city communities that
What is an inset culture?
Like, so like for instance, like where I grew up in Lincoln Heights, DC, right? Like extremely, like I think it's like 98% black, all right? As like basically what I saw was, and I experienced things like oh, you would get beat up if you got on the fucking honor roll, right? Because you were quote unquote, and I'm being serious because this happened to me, acting white if you try to do good in school. Like, so I have a question: is that the government's fault, or is that Jim Crow's fault, or there might be something wrong with like the actual like inner city black culture?
Yeah, sure. No, well, wait. If there's something wrong with the inner city black culture, that would be a product of the environmental conditions that you're kind of downplaying right now. Is it the government's fault?
It couldn't be the music. It couldn't be gangs. It couldn't be lack of fathers in the home.
Wait, who makes the music?
They do.
Who's they?
Or well, I'm sorry. Well, I would say like basically people who are like race pedal, like you know, like here's the thing. Like during the Harlem Renaissance, like black music, like Motown era, things like that, like was considerably more wholesome and not nearly as violent and self-destructive as it is today. Can we agree on that, or can we disagree on that?
All music back in the 1920s was more boomer tier than music today. Like rock and roll and metal both glorify violence and sex too. Just only black people catch shit for it for hip hop.
Yeah, but the largest market for black music is white people, and that's not even like a population thing. That's a per capita thing.
Yeah,
like because like they're getting sold like basically like the quote unquote danger, the lifestyle of like what it is to be black in America type thing. You know what I mean?
I completely agree. But like all of these are still products of environmental preconditions. No.
I just don't.
Why do black people make music like that? Why do black people idolize the rap and the ball game so much? Why do black people sometimes, this does happen, sometimes
they
demonize people?
Believe it's their only way out.
Okay, so why do they think that and white people don't? Could it be there's a difference in the conditions experienced by black and white people that lead to a different set of cultural like?
Sure, but like at some point you gotta stop blaming the white man and fucking.
We're not. Wait, I haven't blamed the white man at any point during this conversation.
I'm speaking generally. Well, okay, well, the white man, government, whatever you want to fucking say, the big bad. Like at some point you have to realize that there's something like actually like corroding your own fucking communities.
It's not. Wait, like it's not about blaming anybody. It's about finding solutions. Your solution is let's close our eyes and think really hard, and maybe if we pray hard enough, everyone will just start being more fiscally responsible. It's just a very silly solution.
My solution, at least within the black community, is incentivizing not only black ownership, but incentivizing waiting until marriage for like sex, and things like fucking if you have a child, getting married.
You mean like responsible family planning?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to provide free contraception to these in these environments?
I actually have no issue with providing free birth control and condoms at all.
That would be a good step. I agree. Yeah, if these are environmental problems, why don't we try to address the environments that black people live in so they produce better outcomes?
I'm sorry, can you ask that one more time? I was not intentionally phasing out, but can you say that again?
That's okay. If we acknowledge that the problem black people experience, or the problems they experience, are because of their environment, why don't we work to make their environment better so they produce better outcomes? I don't want to live in like 2136 America like a brain in a vat, and black people are still redlined to fucking Chicago because we never fixed the problems that we set up 400 years ago. You know, we gotta pull this knife out at some point or another. We haven't really addressed any of the racism in this country. We like made it.
I think we address it quite often, dude. People are falsely accused of racism all the fucking time.
Wait, hold on. Like, what does this have to do with false accusations of I'm talking about systemic issues.
I'm saying people talk about racism so much that basically people look for the racist boogeyman around every fucking door.
Talking about it isn't fixing it, and there is racism everywhere. Yeah, that's like pretty empirically identifiable.
I disagree, but like but listen, hey, maybe I'm like one of those like one of those like black dudes who never experienced like legitimate racism. I mean, maybe that's what it is. Like I somehow managed to like dodge the racist bullet consistently.
You didn't. You said you grew up in the hood, right?
Yeah, for the first 14 years of my life. Yeah.
Are you the descendant of slaves?
I've never done my family tree because I don't know my father's side of the family. If you remember, I said I was a product of a single mother.
There's a decent shot that you were. If you were, there's a reason why you were born in your neighborhood and I was born in Beverly Hills. You were already, before you were even breathing air, you were already experiencing the consequences of racism.
Interesting. I just, no. I don't know. Maybe I have like a mental block in my head, but I'll never fucking attribute like the racism as the reason as to why my father wasn't there, like, or why I was in that fucking community. I managed just fine.
Well, that's fine if you managed, but there are reasons why there are really big differences in the lives that black and white people live in this country. It's not because all black people, like, they're born in the same environment and then they just choose to act differently. There are real differences here, you know?
Do you think, generally speaking, that like races do tend to act like differently, like, or have like at the very least different priorities? Like when it comes, like, generally speaking, like
culturally,
for lack of a better
sure.
word, culturally, like, yeah, okay. So culturally speaking, do you think that blacks and whites might have different priorities, and that's the reason why blacks may not have experienced the same level of upward growth as they rightfully should have?
Well, that's not.
Or do you think
that's not an inherent thing? If there are cultural differences between black and white people, it's because of the society we live in. White people are interested in maintaining white supremacy broadly, culturally, not every individual. And black people are generally interested in finding their best possible way to live in that environment. But like that wasn't always the case. Back in the days of Rome, black and white people, as we would call them today, lived together in harmony with no like different racial cultural groups. They were just considered Romans. We imposed these distinctions on people. They're our fault. And for that reason, any differences enacted between these groups are also our fault.
Like, just like, yeah. So yeah, like to say that we don't feel some kind of like ramifications of like our racist past in America would be foolish and like stupid. And I'm not that much of an idiot, right? But like, I don't know. I look at it as more of a fucking crutch than anything else. Like to worry about it so much. I just live my life, dude.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I will say this though. I will say this. I do think there are people who do have a victim complex and they just like mope around looking for social problems to excuse their own failures. I do think that is a thing that happens. I do think there are black people who do that. The difference is there's a big difference between how I would treat an individual and how I would treat a social problem. For a social problem, I would say like, these are systemic issues. This is what we should do to fix it. I don't care about blame, only solutions. But to an individual, I'm always going to give people like the most aggressively like libertarian pro-individualist takes possible. Like, it doesn't matter. Fuck racism. Stop caring about it. You need to do everything you can do to make your life better. Because that's the best way to motivate an individual forward. But I don't know if it works like on a social level.
Yeah, but like, the thing is like that. I think that level of individual messages is way more persuasive than just like having fucking ads taken out and be like, we have to fight back against this and this. Like, I don't know, most people don't fucking pay attention to that shit. But when you engage people actively on one-on-one in those things, like, I think that's where you actually create institutional change.
Sure, but institutional change matters. Without that, we wouldn't have gotten the civil rights movement. Happy MLK Day, I guess. And then we have stuff like Lyndon B. Johnson's Great Society program, you know, and then we have kind of like the opposite with like the crime bill. Like, you know, like these big changes do, you know, they do have an impact. And I'm sure you agree with that. All right. I feel like we've meaningfully addressed this issue.